Imagine if you needed something so desperately that you literally couldn't live without it. I'm not talking about materialistic things that you just want because everybody else has. I'm saying something that you literally have to keep living. Well, the other day I read a story about a 5-year-old boy who needed a kidney transplant in order to keep living. And the doctors had told his parents that he only had a few months left to live unless he got a kidney transplant. So the doctor immediately put him on the organ waiting list, but this list has been known to take up to months before you can find the right match. I can only imagine how devastated the parents were when they heard this story about their little boy. I personally haven't known anyone that needed an organ transplant, but I can only assume how difficult it's got to be for family and friends to cope with it. Someone on that waiting list could be someone that you know waiting for an organ donation. I've done my part by becoming an organ donor, so that maybe one day when I do pass, I'll still be able to save a life. Today, I would like to tell you about the need for organ donors, how to become an organ donor, and how people you know and complete strangers can benefit from your donation. The need for organ donors increases year after year, and the reason for this is the lack of organs and organ donors. One organ donor can save up to 8 lives. In an article on WebMD, at this moment right now, there are 115,000 people on the organ waiting list. And each day, 4,000 people are added to this list. Over the past decade, this number has increased significantly. According to Damaso Reyes of the New York Amsterdam News, in 2005, there were 89,109 people throughout the United States waiting for an organ donation, and each day 17 people died because a kidney, liver, or heart, or other organ didn't become available in time. So how are these numbers going to look a decade from now? Are they going to double, or are they going to triple? Or is there something that we could do about it as a whole, about maybe creating more organ donors? Now that you know the importance of the need of organ donors, let me tell you how you can become an organ donor. There's a few different ways that one can become an organ donor. And the way in which I became an organ donor is when you renew your driver's license. On the form that they give you, there's a question on there that asks, would you like to become an organ donor? And all you have to do is simply check the yes in the box, and you became an organ donor. And whenever they send your license 6 to 8 weeks in the mail, on the bottom right hand side, there's a heart on it that says donor, which means that you're an organ donor. And another way to become an organ donor is to go online and join your state's online registry donation. And a third way is to call the NHS donor line, and you can become a donor over the phone. You also have the option to become an organ donor. You also have the option to donate what's needed, or you could choose which organs you wish to donate. And you can also become a living donor. This takes place when you give an organ or part of your organ to someone someone that's in need of an organ. Only 23% of Americans have signed donor cards or their driver's license to indicate their desire to donate their organs, according to an article in Clinical Research and Regulatory Affairs. You know why you need to become an organ donor and how, but let me tell you how recipients benefit from your donation. Simply saving lives. The story I was telling you about earlier about the little boy who needed a kidney transplant, he's still with us here today because a random stranger donated his kidney to him, so he was able to keep living. Another testimony by Marie Gonzalez, who also was a kidney transplant recipient, said, people who have received a transplant can teach a lot to others how to live well, and in general, we have a more positive attitude towards life because we get a new reason for living. She is exactly right here, because I feel that a lot of people take their life for granted because they don't truly realize how blessed they are and how easy they have it. And for these people that are on their deathbed and need organ transplant, or they do receive a transplant, it's almost as if they're born again and get a second chance at life, and they just appreciate the smaller things in life. If you've ever wondered before how or why you should or shouldn't become an organ donor, I hope by explaining to you the need for organ donors, how to become an organ donor and how recipients benefit from your donation has maybe cleared your thoughts and persuaded you into becoming an organ donor. Becoming an organ donor can be a very difficult decision in your life, but it could also be one of the greatest gifts that you give anyone. So remember, that next person on the waiting list could be somebody you know or love, so don't be selfish and share your life by becoming an organ donor today.
Perfect.